Yeah, David, I thought this was a great training. I really like it a lot. Um, I think sometimes we just push so hard. Um, I'm an old athlete, so I love the analogy with what you use in your running, but it took years and years, and I mean decades, to realize that I was pushing. I really wasn't rolling. I was pushing, and that's why the block that I was, had some physical issues show up. I realized that when you kind of use that flow that's there,
Mhm.
um, you're a lot more efficient in the way that you move. And so I think that whole idea of really honing in on your why takes the edges off and makes you roll easier, having that
Mhm.
being the impetus and moving from your heart. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A little background on where these principles come from. When I first started running a couple of years ago, actually it's probably about 20 years ago now, I was getting injured all the time. And I was forcing my way to run and to run faster than probably I should have, because I was running away from some things and I was trying to run the stress out of me. And so these principles come from a very, I guess, a likely place called Tai Chi, which is the original martial art of China. And the principles are all about how to cultivate energy flow through the body and to, for great health and also for great power. And so the principles are applied as Tai Chi principles to something called Chi running and Chi walking. You could look it up, chirunning.com, chiwalking.com. I've been a certified instructor for the past almost 14 years. And I found the book called Chi Running and started to read the book, and I couldn't put it down. I'm like, this is why I'm getting injured all the time, is because I was forcing myself to run a certain way, a way that I forgot, because I was injured a lot in my 20s with a back issue. I forgot to run like a kid. And a kid or a child will instinctively move this way. They'll move from their center, their hips, they'll lead with their whole body, they'll pick up their feet to keep up with their forward momentum, and they'll cooperate with what's around them just by instinct, because any other way doesn't feel right to them. But we as adults, we forget that. And so when I started to apply them to running, I started to realize that they also apply to life. And I had a number of people come at me with negative energy, let's just say. And previously I would have bucked them. I would have gone against them. And I started to learn to just step out of the way and just let them go by. They're not part of my tribe. They're not people I want to be around. I have to interact with them. I'm going to do my best to be nice and say a prayer for them, but I'm just going to let them go. And then I realized years later that this also applies to my business at ASEA. And there were some things here that I could utilize to help me move more efficiently and with more longevity in my business. Because if you run your business hard, your longevity is probably at stake, because you're going to get injured in some way mentally, and you're probably not going to be around very long. So same concept. So thanks, Peg. Appreciate that. Other thoughts, questions?
I love this
I
training.
have a question. You mentioned a book by David Hawkins. Could
Yes.
you name it again?
Yes, the name of the book's called Power versus Force, and
Okay.
Dr. David Hawkins, and I would recommend chapter 8. I will warn you, it's not an easy read, but chapter 8 talks about this idea of power versus force and where the force comes from in the context, the greater context of the book. You might be able to find a copy of it online and utilize chapter 8, but a great read if you're into detailed work on energy levels and more philosophical type subjects.
He's a great teacher. He's not living any longer, but he's a great. I'm familiar with his work.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sandra.
David, I
Others?
love this training. I was just going to say to you that when we think about our business, somebody put a Facebook post up and they said, if you were going to identify one word to encapsulate 2021, what's your word for 2021? And so my words are always expansion, explosion, progress, that kind of stuff. And when I really got quiet and listened to what I really need to do for 2021, I realized, you know what my word is for 2021 is patience. And as right, Peg? And so that's my word for 2021. And I'll tell you, when I exercise that word, somebody told me one time, Cindy, you've got to slow down to speed up. And it reminded me so much of your analogy, because I mean, I'm not a good runner. I run with my limbs. I lean forward. I mean, ask Bo, he's a decathlete and he married somebody who's not, you know, but I just think your analogy is fantastic. I love how it equates to RSC, a business. So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate that. Other thoughts? We're a few minutes over, so we want to keep on time. If anybody has any parting thoughts, we'll take them. Otherwise, we'll wish everyone to go out and make it a great see a day, great see a week, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks
Have a
so
great
much,
day.
David. Thank you, Cindy. Have a great week, you guys. Yahoo! Let's go.
Yes,
Thank you.
great training. Thank you.